Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Kim Tran, and this is my Cell Care Series micro lesson number 2, WDEP goal setting. Quick tidbit for today about me is that I had the opportunity a couple years ago to be an adjunct professor at a university in Washington, teaching SEL skills to future school counselors. And that's one of the main inspirations of why I still continue the work that I do today. So let's jump in. So, with goal setting, it's always really important to refer back to the SMART goal components. We won't get too much into this, but I want to provide this resource for you in case you needed a reminder or if you want to learn more about SMART goals. The basic idea is to be specific, uh, set a goal that's you can actually somewhat measure, if not completely measure, and pick ones that you truly can at the moment aim to achieve within a certain amount of time. So let's just start out with a fun example. So let's say my realistic goal was to earn $1 million. And let's say my plan to earn $1 million, my realistic plan, was to obtain a degree in education. Now, that would be very difficult. So if I use WDEP, the result could end up being that I adjust my plan to set a different goal. Now, hopefully, it's not always the case that you set a different goal, but the point that I'm getting across is with WDEP, you're going to evaluate your plan to when it comes to what goal you're trying to achieve, and potentially reevaluate and replan. So, what is WDEP? It's basically going back to the foundations of goal setting. It's not rocket science. So W is what are you wanting to achieve? D is what are you doing or not doing to achieve that goal? E is evaluating what you're doing, not doing, and seeing how effective that is towards achieving your goal. And P is plan. This is where you potentially determine what you're doing well, what you're doing that could be better, what could you be doing more of, and what you could be doing less of to be more effective at achieving your goal. And like I said, in rare cases, hopefully rare anyways, you might end up finding out that the goal you originally set might need to be readjusted, and it might not be the goal you were even trying to aim for. So, for example, with that $1 million goal, maybe through the process, I realized that with my passion for education, I didn't really want $1 million. Otherwise, I might not have gotten into education and chosen a different career field. But maybe if I was sticking purely financial, it could be that I want to make a comfortable living. I want to be able to provide for my family. But hopefully, my goal when it came to education could end up being that I had a passion for education, and my goal is to educate as many students as I can to the best of my abilities. Could go a variety of ways. So why is it important to talk about WDEP when it seems so basic and so common sense? Well, the reason why is because, especially in these times, anxiety, frustration, and stress often lead to irrational thinking. So when we're stressed and frustrated or anxious, we tend to not make the best choices. We tend to not have the clearest minds. We tend to act in ways that we wouldn't normally act. So, the purpose of SEL in general is to prepare us and give us the tools we need to overcome tough times and to hopefully stay regulated more often than not. So, that's why we're talking about WDEP today. Also, being in education in general, we tend to be really hard on ourselves. We tend to be perfectionists, which is, on honesty, it's great to aim high in your goals. But sometimes, especially during stressful times, our goals, not that they're not realistic, but that they're not always the healthiest goals. Because if you set goals that are nearly impossible to achieve in a certain amount in a given situation, that's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for anybody. It's going to be not a very fun process. So, but if you still are aiming to achieve those goals, WDEP can help you figure out a process of how to achieve those goals. Also, in the midst of a pandemic, or even in the midst of stressful times, but certainly a pandemic, the stress, the levels of anxiety can be really disheartening. And you've probably seen it, you've probably felt it. And sometimes it can be debilitating. It can lead you to a situation where nothing is getting solved, nothing is getting improved, because you're just so stressed out and frustrated, and you're setting these goals that aren't healthy, that you can become debilitated. And that's not good for anyone. You don't deserve that, and neither does anyone else. Another great thing about WDEP is that it is effective for everyone, for students, for staff, for your colleagues, for families, but hopefully, even more so, it'll be effective for yourself. Because as an educator or as a parent or whoever's watching this, you are a role model to somebody. And the best way to embed SEL skills and teaching practices is that you adopt them for yourself, because it will help you become a more peaceful, problem solving, helpful person. And last but not least, everyone deserves to cut themselves some slack. So I gave you the funny example of $1 million, but what I was really trying to get to is make sure you're setting goals that are healthy for yourself, and not goals that are set because you're worried about what people might think, or uh, what you think people are expecting of you. Because everyone knows you're doing an awesome job and that you're doing the best you can. Just remember that. It's very important. So how do you complete something that seems so basic effectively? Anyone can look at the worksheet, anyone can look at the questions and try and just answer them basically. But if you really want to get the most effect out of WDEP, the first thing you'll do is regulate yourself. Some people take deep breaths, some people take a break, some people do all sorts of positive activities for themselves to regulate. Because if you're deregulated, which would mean that you're so stressed out or you're so frustrated or angry, um, you're not going to solve problems very easy, or as effective as you would if you take the time to regulate yourself. Step two is to let your guard down and be willing to be honest with yourself. And that seems easy, but for a lot of us perfectionists and people who have very high standards, we have a hard time sometimes admitting when we're not doing the best choices that we could be doing. For example, I like to be fit. I try to be, anyways. And sometimes I make excuses to eat junk food. And it's okay to have junk food once in a while, but sometimes I eat junk food a lot. And as you can tell, that would really hinder my ability to be fit. So if I am not allowed to let down my guard, if I'm not allowing myself to be honest, I'm going to keep eating junk food and I'm not going to ever achieve my goal. So that's why it's really important. So number three also is to learn just the basic foundations. I have a worksheet for you, or an organizational chart to complete WDEP that you'll see next. But you're not always going to have that. And to embed it into your practices, I strongly encourage you just to have a general understanding that you can go back to during times of frustration or during times where you need to solve problems. There's also sub questions that go along with it as well. And step four, once you've completed all three steps, then you are in a space where you can complete the WDEP assessment for yourself or for others. A lot of times it could be frustrated students. Remember, have them complete the three steps first before you even try WDEP. So here's the worksheet with the standard questions that I found. It can be reproduced pretty easy, but I'm more than happy to give you a copy if you would like it. So, in the spirit of time, let's go through one example. Let's use a student example. I want Kevin to be my friend. So, we found what the W is. Let's say I'm the student, and I want Kevin to be my friend. So, let's walk through what am I doing to become Kevin's friend? This can go in many different directions. Let's start simple. So, how often do you see Kevin? Is he in any of your classes? Do you see him outside of school? Do you do any activities together? So let's just say my answers are I see him in the hallway once in a while. I say hi to him. I don't have anything outside of school that I share. I'm not on a sports team with him or any club or anything like that. Um, what are the things that you have in common? He is really good at tennis, and I like to play tennis. Okay, so those are some basics that you can uh, that we can figure out what I'm doing. Well, it also shows you what we're not doing, which is communicating. Let's go a little bit more in depth. So if you want to get deep, you can even start with, okay, so what is your definition of a friend? Like, what are the qualities that you consider a good friend is? You can also ask, so what is it about Kevin that makes you want to be his friend? So it could be that, well, he seems like a really nice person. I see him, he's really good at tennis, which means he probably works really hard and he practices a lot. And I'd like to get good at tennis too. It could be that, yeah, he just seems like a really friendly person. So then we go to evaluate. So, okay, you say hi to him once in a while, you see him in the hallways. You don't do anything outside of school. You're not in the same clubs or anything like that. He seems really nice, which is great. So are you doing anything to work towards becoming his friend? So then, as you go through, you find out, yeah, the only thing I'm doing right now is I play tennis and he plays tennis. He doesn't know that. I say hi to him once in a while. He seems like a nice guy, but I don't share any out of school activities or in school activities. So let's plan. So if you wanted to be Kevin's friend, maybe whenever you see him, you say hi. Maybe within a week or two, let's set a timeline with our smart concepts and make sure you tell Kevin that you play tennis as well and you'd like to play with him sometime. Maybe you can also set it up where you can invite him to play tennis. Or you can even start as basic as having a conversation with him. You can invite him to even have lunch sometime. There's all sorts of ways you can go about it. And these are very basic. That's a very basic example of WDEP. And I'm sure you can come up with even better ones. And I'd love to hear the feedback if you have it. So I'm going to leave you with the same quote that I left with you with last week because it's still very fitting that we are defined by the stories we tell ourselves. And in this case, we are defined by the goals we set for ourselves. Hopefully, you're setting goals that are healthy and goals that are realistic / achievable at the moment to build upon your ultimate goals. Once again, this is Kim Tran, and thank you so much, everybody. Stay strong, stay safe, and make sure you know everyone thinks you're doing great. Take care, everyone. Till next time.